South Africa with a stern early test. This year, the Tour Natal started in bustling Pinetown, and new machinery and new teams always add a little extra to the expectations that go with a new season. And another major talking point too in the off-season was Toyota's decision to withdraw from the Premier Class A8 category. While the two-day Tour Natal took in special stages on KwaZulu-Natal's north and south coasts, proceedings got underway in the Pinetown CBD with a spectator-orientated super special stage. Turned up in droves to watch two-car shootouts with one of the more interesting clashes, the Class A6 match between Jean-Pierre Damso and Johan Klaassen. They were up against Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz, with both crews out in Toyota Corolla RSIs, with Damso and Klaassen running in Team Total colours. Super special stages are great fun for the spectators, but are fraught with danger for crews. Clipping a curb or making a small error of judgment can lead to some serious damage to the cars, and for Fecken and Lukowitz, that's exactly what happened. Fecken and Lukowitz whacked a curb, and the Pretoria pair were out of the rally almost before it had stuck. Race cam action is from the Fecken Lukowitz car, with rally fundies pointing out afterwards that national events are rarely won on the first stage. And what of Toyota's decision not to run in Class A8?
A6, I think, is going to be the class to look at. And Toyota's decision to move Serge as well down to A6 makes it even more interesting. So I think it's, you know, Serge and myself, and now Hergen and JP and all those guys that want to win in one class. It's going to be a hell of a dice.
I don't think my son in my class is going to be any problem there. I think he's got his head sorted out. He's only worried about Fecken, and Adrian and myself are going to have a go, so I think it's sorted out already.
A little directorial flair from the start marshal Andrew Kirby and Lawrence and Paisley, and back once again, the old firm of Damso and Bonafide were on their way on the mirror image course in another highly interesting matchup between two of South Africa's top crews. Race cam action is from the Lawrence Paisley car, with teamwork and good communication between driver and co-driver an essential ingredient. Two Toyota crews were locked in battle. Willing helpers were moving the stricken Fecken Lukowitz car out of harm's way. The Lawrence Paisley car went steaming past before the job was completed, with comprehensive damage to both the Toyota Corolla and crew's ego. Out on the stage, the scrap between Damso, reunited with longtime co-driver Vito Bonafide after a break of a year, and Lawrence and Paisley was turning into a tight affair. Both crews have a wealth of experience, but it was 7-time South African champions Damso and Bonafide who had a slight edge approaching the flying finish, and they sneaked home by 2 seconds.
One can always be very clever and intelligent on the comments, but I think once you get behind the wheel, you just want to grow the horns and go for the chase. So I'm going to try and be reasonable about it, but I want to give him a chase. I want to put the pressure on him.
We were a bit disappointed when Serge withdrew from A8 because we were really looking forward to another good dice for the season. But you know, we have 6 or 7 cars in A8, and it doesn't mean that we have to be slack about the situation. I think we still need to really concentrate and be very focused.
Now running under the Sasol banner, South African champions Jan Havik and Douglas Judd are inveterate chargers. And with Paulo Piazzamuso, a tarmac stage specialist, there was huge interest in the clash between the VW Golf factory pair and the privately entered Ford Escort. Late starters Peter Altersky and Alan Bissett were preparing for a solo run, while Havoc Judd and Piazzamuso and co-driver Nick Haddon were giving the huge crowd something to enthuse about. The Works VW Golf and the Ford Escort, which last season ran with backing from Sasol, closely matched in what was turning into an intriguing scrap. Piazzamuso was living up to his reputation as a tar specialist, and Havoc and Judd were under pressure with the crowds loving every minute of it. Now virtually an obligatory ingredient in national championship events, super special stages help bring rallying to the people in metropolitan areas. The size of the Pinetown crowd was proof of just how popular these stages have become, with rally enthusiasts and the general public having their first close-up look at the spectacle that is national championship rallying. Piazzamuso got a little crossed up at the flying finish, but the Escort posted the same time as the VW Golf, with the two. While other crews headed for the series of night special stages on the north coast, the Feckin Lukovitz car was being repaired at the roadside. The talented Feckin was a little bashful about the whole incident. With the car stuck in stage 1 for the duration, repairs to the Toyota were academic, with the disappointed Feckin and Lukovitz out of the Tour Natal.
We were coming down this hill and it's quite fast, and as I steered into this corner I got a slight understeer and I couldn't get it out of it. We just tipped the curve there at the end. I'm sure the in-car shot will show you what happened, and unfortunately the suspension just bent and we couldn't get it out of the stage. They're busy fixing it now, but we couldn't get it out of the stage, so we're out.
Next on the agenda for Tour Natal crews were a series of 7 night special stages in the Tongaat area. These were all gravel stages and destined to produce their fair share of drama. With the withdrawal of Toyota from the Class A8 category, Jan Havoc and Douglas Judd were overwhelming favourites to win the Tour Natal. Although other Volkswagen crews had been upgraded to compete in Class A8 alongside the factory car, and the Piazzamuso Haddon entry, the odds were stacked in favour of the reigning champions. Despite showing signs of little off-season rust, Havoc and Judd immediately took another 3 seconds off the Piazzamuso Haddon Ford Escort in the first of the gravel stages. Although no one was looking any further than Havoc and Judd as potential winners of the Tour Natal, the first gravel stage showed that the Class A6 Brigade were going to take on the role of David against the Class A8 Goliaths. First, Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide in the dealer Team Toyota Corolla, and then Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley in the Team Total entry produced highly impressive Special Stage 2 times. With Havoc and Judd still settling down, Damso and Bonafide were only 1 second slower than the Sasol VW Golf. Lawrence and Paisley went 1 better, and with a little local knowledge on their side, were hugely impressive in taking 4 seconds off Havoc and Judd. Pretoria pair Barry Hrobler and Mike Burrows were one of the VW Golf crews moved from Class A7 last season into Class A8 this time around. Hrobler and Burrows are now also part of the Sasol stable, but got off to a fairly sedate start. With a mini exodus of crews moving into Class A8, veteran KwaZulu-Natal driver Tony Ball and Marty Olivier were widely tipped to be among the Class A7 frontrunners. Their early progress was hampered when they came across an errant spectator in a buggy in the special stage, and that was not the way they wanted to start their season. Reigning Class A7 champions Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding, now also A8 runners in a Sasol-backed VW Golf, also got off to a somewhat sedate start, along with local crew Craig Trott and Gerhard Bezetnoot in the Team Total Toyota Conquest, running in Class A6. After finishing second quickest in the Super Special stage, another local crew in the Mr. Toyota Conquest, veterans Peter Altersky and Alan Bissett, were looking to make more progress. Behind them, the SALive.com Toyota of Kobus Roos and Neil Ferree was locked in an early battle in Class N2 with the Team Total Toyota Corolla of Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper. A central service point in Tongaat was a hive of activity, with much of it centred around the dealer Team Toyota Corolla. Serge Damso looked a little agitated. Vito Bonafide looked relaxed, and team manager Waimi Haddad was wrestling with a problem.
The problem is the airlock that we have in the collector bottle of the fuel system. So it draws all the fuel out and then it doesn't refill by itself. So we need to get the air out some way or another. I'm still thinking, find a way to get that out.
There was a job of some kind for everyone at the service park, with co-drivers also making sure they had all their scoring up to date.
On stage 1,
Serge beat us by 2 seconds, and now on stage 2 we beat Serge by 5 seconds. So we're leading now by 3 seconds between ourselves and Serge.
There was a handbrake problem for JP Damso, but co-driver Johan Claassen didn't appear unduly perturbed.
The battle in A6 seems to be hotting up, and Etienne winning the last stage.
Yes, we had a fairly clean run, but we lost rear handbrake. JP's trying to sort it out now. But yeah, so far so good.
Skills of a different nature from the local, and cosmetic treatment for the Roos-Free SALive.com Toyota.
Tell me what prompted you to decide on Kobus Roos?
Well, I was looking for somebody that I know can go the distance. And Kobus at this stage I think is the most exciting driver around. So we decided to invest our money in him, personally in the car, and we hope it will win the championship this year. That's what we're going for. Also the rally site is on the SA Live. Everybody want to go there, you can see it. Keeping the stages up to date. All the stages up to this per second status on the net already published. So that's why we're doing it. We want to get people to go to the site and use it and know exactly what's going on in the rallies.
Kobus, how's this N2 battle going?
It's not going too badly at the moment. First time in Natal, so it's a bit of a battle. The new 6-speed is quite good, but yeah, Dean is winning at the moment. But we're just trying to find our feet, and then we'll go from there.
Special Stage 3 produced more early Tour Natal drama, and this time the central figures were KwaZulu Natalians Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley. After an impressive Stage 2 showing, Lawrence and Paisley were starting to fly in the Team Total Toyota Corolla, but potential disaster is never far away in a rally car. Back at the service point, damage to the car was minimal, but Lawrence and Paisley had lost a whopping 7 minutes.
It was the second dirt stage. We came in a crossroads, and I just came in and I braked a little bit late, and I thought I'd make it. And there was I think it was a rock or something before a culvert. I came in and it obviously hit just the sill. And it stopped me and it put me on the side. And Robert and myself, Mickey Meyer and he laid, we couldn't push it back on its wheels. So it was standing on its side like that. Then we couldn't find his road grip. Battled for 3 minutes, we found it underneath the dash. So it was just because of that. 7 minutes down.
Well, on such incidents, a rally's won and lost. But at the front of the field, Jan Habak and Douglas Judd in the factory Sasol VW Golf were gradually building themselves a comfort zone over Paolo Piazzamuso and Nick Haddon in the Ford Escort. The Ford pair were trying to put pressure on the reigning South African champions, but with themselves a little under the whip from Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide, with the David versus Goliath battle starting to gain momentum. Lawrence and Paisley were now throwing caution to the wind after dropping way down the pecking order, with the Bulwer Park VW Golf of Tony Ball and Marty Olafia starting to move up the leaderboard, with the pair now leading Class A7. Craig Trott and Gerard Verzetenhout were still going along steadily, although Class A6 had lost JP Damso and Johan Claassen, who went out on stage 5. Team Total Toyota crew, Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper were into the top 10, with the pair leading both the Group N category and Class N2, while reigning champions Rodney Fasaki and Carolyn Swan in the Team Total Toyota Taz had taken early control of Class N1. Back at the service park, it was the turn of Chad van der Walt and Cindy Harding to run into problems. Pre-event preparation of the Sasol VW Golf was hampered because of delays for parts, with the car running into a shock absorber and alternator maladies. As day 1 of the Tour Natal drew to a close, penalties for lateness, while technicians sorted out the alternator problem, saw the reigning Class A7 champions start to slip down the leaderboard. At the end of day 1, a comfortable 70-second lead for Habak and Judd over Piazzamuso and Haddon. Class A6 pair Damso and Bonafide were just over 30 seconds behind the Ford pair and 3 minutes clear of the Grobbelaar Burrows VW Golf. Slight shift in direction. Crews now headed along the KwaZulu-Natal south coast for 11 stages in the Park Riney and Umzinto areas on what was going to be a long and hot day. Apart from the conditions, early indications were that 1 or 2 of the special stages were going to be a little rough. With a healthy enough overnight lead, there was no need for rally leaders Jan Habak and Douglas Judd to push too hard early in the day. Habak and Judd started day 2 on a trouble-free note, but there was a gloomier side to the day for Paolo Piazzamuso and Nick Haddon in the Ford Escort. The Escort arrived at a service point in Dududu with a cracked sump after hitting a rock, and there were early morning alarm bells in the Piazzamuso camp.
You think that epoxy will close it or not?
I reckon.
Hey?
Yeah, it's a good chance for that. Yeah.
Jan!
We've got their Foxy, they're mixing it up, don't worry.
Yeah.
The crack to the top. Yeah.
I don't know, I think we've got a clearance problem between the sump guard and the sump. And obviously with the vibration and the bumping that it takes, it obviously hit the sump and it's cracked the sump. It's obviously dumped all the oil out, and we had to do the whole stage there, which with no oil, and the open section. Luckily, one of the fellow competitors helped me out with a bit of oil, so we'll try and fix it now so we can get back up to speed.
After losing time on the opening stage and picking up a small lateness penalty, Piazzamuso and Haddon were now under serious threat from Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide. A little pressure on rally leaders, Jan Hammock and Douglas Judd also lifted somewhat, with the reigning champions firmly in control of the 42nd Tour Natal. Well, Piazzamuso and Haddon now faced a tactical dilemma: push hard or conserve the car and risk getting caught by Damso and Bonafide. A wrong slot didn't help matters. Looming up behind the Ford pair were Damso and Bonafide in the dealer Team Toyota, and despite the wrong slot, a Class A6 David was getting ready to slay a Class A8 Goliath. Local crew, Craig Trott and Gerhard Verzetenhout were not far away from a problem that was to put them out of the running. And behind them, fellow KwaZulu-Natalians Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley were on a mission. After starting the day 13th, they were already starting to make inroads into the rest of the field of the Team Total Toyota Corolla. The service park at Dududu, and being wheeled into retirement was the Trott-Verzetenhout Team Total Toyota Conquest.
The brakes started binding on coming out of the stage, and obviously trying to get around to the time control to book in, slipping the clutch. We sorted out the brakes, but now we don't have a clutch. So obviously the clutch plate's gone, so we're spectating from now onwards.
Some picturesque KwaZulu-Natal scenery, but crews were in too much of a hurry to admire the sights. Still holding on to a top 10 place and now in complete control of the Group N category and Class N2 were current N2 champions Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper. They were having a clean run, but on his first KwaZulu-Natal event, N2 rival Kobus Roos was struggling to read the road conditions. Down in Class N1, Rodney Visaki and Carolyn Swan were also firmly in control of proceedings and had built up a comfortable lead over Mike Houghton and Brian Doherty in another Toyota Taz. Behind the two Class N1 cars, the Lawrence Paisley combination was still on a charge that was turning into a drive of epic proportions, and they'd quickly forced their way into the top 10. Paisley car was still in need of minor repairs here and there, with crews also taking a little strain in the wickedly hot conditions.
Yeah, going all right today. We're trying to catch, but I don't know, we'll try and make up a few positions. Yeah, the pace seems to be okay. We are maintaining there. But I don't know, we'll see now. We're going to get a window now, so maybe we won't eat so much dust.
Typical KwaZulu-Natal South Coast sugarcane country, and still dictating the pace at the front of the field were South African champions Jan Hammock and Douglas Judd in the Sasol VW Golf. There was understandably no heroics from Hammock and Judd, who were doing just enough to get the job done. Big crowds converged on spectator points, with the main interest now settled on the scrap for second place between the Piazzamuso Haddon Ford Escort and Damso and Bonafide in the dealer Team Toyota Corolla. The multiple South African champions had now edged ahead of the Ford Escort, with the Team Total car of Lawrence and Paisley now snapping at the heels of the Provolare Burrows and Thunderbolt Harding Class A8 entries. It was a sterling effort from Lawrence and Paisley, but for rally leaders Hammock and Judd, it was simply a question of controlling the pace from the front of the field. The air of complete calm in the Hammock-Judd camp told its own story.
Yeah, at this stage we're just holding stations. The car's running pretty well, nothing major. It's got a small problem, the diff that's not working 100%, but besides that, I think yeah, so far it's going very well for us.
Across the service park in the Toyota camp, the Damso Bonafide car was still being plagued by fuel starvation problems.
I mean, you seem to see the fuel problem seems to be persistent.
Unfortunately it is, and we'll have to do a modification when we get back home and make another design there. This one just is not right, so
we're making a boermarker plan here. It's not good enough. So when we get back, we'll redesign it, and hopefully that will solve the problem. At least we know what the problem is. It's half difficult is always to find out what the problem is, but we know what it is, so we just have to fix it.
So what effect does it have?
Well, it just cuts the car dead. It just, you know, the fuel pressure goes down to 0 and the car just stops, and then it picks up again, and we can get, you know, we'll go again. But it seems they know what's wrong with it now, so I hope it's sorted out.
Apart from the Lawrence Paisley surge through the field, the most impressive drive on the Tour Natal came from Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper, who were now completely dominant at the head of the Group N category and Class N2. Reigning Class N1 champions Rodney Fasaki and Carolyn Swan now had a vice-like grip on the class, but there was a sting in the tail, and Piazza Musso and Haddon arrived back at the final service point in a somewhat battle-scarred Ford Escort. An off-road excursion in the previous special stage cost them 2 minutes and finally settled the battle for second place.
We had a really tricky left-hander in the stage there, and we were just very committed. We put new tyres on. I wanted to take the 11-second deficit from Surge, and I gave it maximum attack. Miscalculated the corner, obviously put it sideways, and there was a earth bank probably half a metre high. Went sideways into that and put it on the side. I think most of the time was just really getting the car back on the wheels, and then we just about to go off, and Surge did almost the same thing.
National Championship rallying is tough enough in normal conditions, but the extreme heat and humidity was taking its toll on drivers and co-drivers.
It's incredibly hot inside in this car. I mean, I don't know what the temperature is, but the water is just running out here, and you must take fluid all day just not to dehydrate. But it's still fun.
Into the home stretch on the Tour Natal with Jan Habak and Douglas Judd now stroking the Sasol VW Golf home to a predictable victory. It was another thoroughly professional display from the champions, and all that was left was for the crowd to enjoy the traditional Tour Natal water splash on the special stage that runs through the Equipa service park. Their penultimate special stage mishap had relegated Paolo Piazza Musso and Nick Haddon to third place, but it was a stout effort from the pair with their Tour Natal challenge underfunded. Although hampered by the persistent fuel starvation problem, Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide showed that their Class A6 challenge needs to be taken seriously, and second overall and a class win was a good start to their campaign. Laurent, Mike Burrows came up with another trademark steady performance in the Sasol VW Golf, with Group N winners Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper also up there when accolades were handed out. Time penalties for lateness hampered Chad van der Walt and Cindy Harding, and the Sasol VW Golf pair were eventually fifth and a minute adrift of Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley. A great, if slightly predictable, start to the season for Jan Habak and Doug Judd, and 2 Class A6 cars in the top 5 sets the stage for the rest of the season. Bubbly for Habak and Judd, the pair developing a taste for the great.
Yeah, there wasn't obviously not the usual amount of intense pressure, but I wouldn't describe it as easy. You know, one's got to still be very careful, and one small mistake can cost you dearly. So although it looked easy, but we still had to work pretty hard for it.
And while they were busy with the mess